By the end of this video, you're gonna learn some tips on how to have the best dom sub scene ever. And stay until the end because you can get our vanilla and kink checklist. It will give you ideas on what you can try and consider. Hit subscribe, like, and the bell. I release a new video Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Amanda Pasciucco. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sex therapist. I'm a clinical sexologist, and I have taken special classes in kink conscious etiquette and technique. So that means that I am very qualified to be teaching you how to have one of the best dom sub scenes ever. Let's just jump right into the tips. So, tip one. Tip one is to have agreements. What are the things that you want? What are the things that they want? Also, tip one is to agree that the bar is at the level of discovery and exploration. We're not trying to do something that's worthy of porn or being shot and then unleashed. We're doing something just for us to have fun. So I think it's really important as part one to agree on that. Part two, get perfection out of your mind. Immediately. This is not going to be perfect, especially if it's the first scene you've done with someone. You're really calibrating and learning how to be with one another. So get perfection out of there and just set the bar at discovery. If you make a mistake, let the person that you're going to have a scene with know beforehand that mistakes might happen. What will you do? If you make a mistake, you stop, you attune, and you reset and repair and see if you ought to keep going. But talk about this well before you're in a scene, like a sexual moment. Talk about this online, on the phone, in person, after quarantine, beforehand. Does that make sense? I don't want you guys to be doing this the day that you're having the sex. This should be the day before the scene. Whether you're having sex or not also will be discussed. We will get there. Point three. Often this is point one, safe words. Do you have a safe word? Green often means keep going, I like this. Yellow means slow down or maybe something different. Red means stop, I do not like this. What are your safe words? Please comment them below because it's really helpful to get a range of safe words and what they mean. This is important to discuss though with someone who you're going to be doing a new scene with, just so you're all attuned to what that word is and what the limits are of this scene. The reason that you do this is because in BDSM or kink play, sometimes people like the feeling of being a little bit on the edge or a little bit out of control. So therefore we use safe words so that we can basically gauge our consciousness of, we need to remember this word because if something goes awry, we're gonna at least be able to be like yellow or red. So that's why we do a safe word. Step four or tip four, ask about their injuries or limits. Ask if they have maybe like shoulder pain. Ask if they often get scared or cold. Ask them all about the things that their body does, their emotional state, and their intellectual desires. And you as well. Everyone involved should be discussing these things. What are we trying to get out of this? And what is our body's limitation in this? Some people weigh different things. Some people have knee problems. Not all sexuality looks the same. Some people don't even like kissing. So kissing isn't even part of their scene. Part five, ask about the intellectual connection. What are they hoping to feel? Do they want to feel aroused, eager, willing, scared, frightened, contained? What is the quality that the sub's looking for? And if you're the top, what is the quality that you're aiming for? If these aren't a match right before, they're not going to be a match in the moment. So don't even go have the date. It doesn't make any sense. Talk about these things beforehand and make sure you have the same goal in mind to set yourself up for success intellectually. Step six, emotional connection. So if you guys are doing this and you're single, it's still with the person you trust. So there is going to be an emotional connection that often happens in a dom sub scene. You go much deeper. It's not just about the body, it's the mind, it's the spirit, it's the heart. So a lot of emotional things begin to happen, even if you're like, yeah, I don't want emotions in it. check in on the emotions because you're gonna get them. We're humans, we're not robots or sex toys, we're humans. Also be mindful if you're gonna play with a submissive or a dominant and the submissive says, I have no limits, or the dominant says, I'm not vulnerable. That's scary and not safe. Everyone has limits, everyone has vulnerabilities. So being able to see that you need to have limits, you need to have places where you're vulnerable and break the character of the role beforehand and after. BDSM is play, is not that serious. A lot of us take it very seriously. However, when we take it too seriously, people get hurt, emotions get hurt. So I'm giving you my best tips to avoid these pitfalls before you get to the scene. How do you start a scene? So I would love to know, you can comment below how you guys start out your scenes for those of you who are dominant and submissive and have done a bunch of scenes, but these are quick ways to do a scene. One, you get a collar, you put it around their neck, and that's boom, we started the scene. Another way, when you get to actually seeing one another, you'll say, I'm gonna ask you to kneel down. One person will kneel down, and that will be the beginning of the scene. So these are ways you're gonna talk about it beforehand with everyone involved and say, what is gonna be our start point and what's gonna be the end point? Is the end one person orgasming? Is the end everyone orgasming? Is the end not about orgasm and just about safe words or exhaustion? Find the beginning and the end point before you start a sexual encounter or a fantasy role play, which is kind of a form of BDSM. A fantasy role play is kind of like a dominant submissive, just dom submissive. People who identify in these terms often take it more seriously. While you're in the scene, flow together. Make sure that you start light and then start to calibrate up. Just like in music, you don't want to start at the crescendo, you want to go up and down. So that's how you're going to do your scene too, with type of flow and grace to it, a back and forth. Give, receive, take, allow. During the scene, if something's not going right, what do? Use your yellow safe word, or you can talk beforehand about what you'll do. Can you communicate and say, hold on, time out, or pause, I need a break. Be sure that you discuss how you're gonna communicate before the scene starts so that if something goes wrong, you know what to do. For our couples who are watching, please go below and click the Seduce Your Spouse guide. I want you to understand the technique at the end of that video called calibration, because I wouldn't consider doing a BDSM or a dom sub scene with my partner unless they knew how to calibrate. So please download that if you don't know how to do that if you're a couple. Next point, the heightened part of the scene. Top of the scene is what, like I said, what you decide on is the end of the scene doesn't mean it's the height of the scene. The height of the scene is what you talked about emotionally, intellectually, the fantasy that you were going to receive together. That ought to be the height of the scene, but it ought not end there. There's another point that you're going to come down to that's going to be the end of the scene that is discussed before. So that's going to keep things safe. Point 10 is aftercare. After the scene is done, have you talked about what you're gonna do? Some people are very cold, they want a blanket. Some people are hot, some people need water, some people need food, right? You could have been just in a scene for 2 hours, or you could have had a sex scene for 10 minutes. We don't know, but just be mindful of the aftercare. And my last point, my favorite of all, day after the scene, the week after the scene, 2 weeks after the scene, as the dominant, you ought to be considering calling that person, texting that person, because you just had a very intimate moment with them. And even if you're not coupled, it is on you as the dominant to check in on them emotionally, intellectually, and for their well-being, because you created this scene with them. And part of being a great dominant is following through after the scene is over. So that is my final point, which I believe is really important. Thank you for staying until the end. Scroll down, get our kink and vanilla checklist, because I think you'll really enjoy it, even for you couples or you singles. And if you like this video, click like, hit subscribe and the bell. I release a new video Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, you can say hi on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at The Sex Healer. See you then, and thanks for watching.